Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Pokemon Discussions. Today I'm with my friend Harry Lon.
What is up? It's been a while.
So today we're talking about the Pokemon Legends series, and then we'll go further into Pokemon Legends ZA. Pokemon Legends looks like to becoming a sequel of multiple games coming out. Do you think opens up to multiple games and multiple storylines that we could have?
I totally think so. And the best part about all of this, I'm pretty sure it's all canon too. So ZA, I think with ZA and what little information we know about it, they're doing a different take on what they did with Legends Arceus, where Legends Arceus was obviously taking place in the past. There's a lot of Easter eggs and nuances and nods from the mainline games with the ancestors and things like that, where the ancient forms of some Pokemon. Legends ZA also takes that ancestral route, but goes into the future. Presumably, I mean, we from the trailer we see that we have a futuristic recreation of, Lumino City from X and Y in the Kalos region. So I think there were essentially testing the waters with Legends Arceus all those years ago, and now that there was mostly positive reception, I'm hoping that they improve on a lot of the qualms that people had with PLA and incorporate them into ZA, especially since they also listened to us and brought back Mega Evolutions, which is also very exciting.
Yeah, that's actually really weird. I remember I made a video a long time, like a couple months ago, before Legends ZA was even announced, of like having Mega Evolutions. Because for me, when the trailer released, right, it was set into Lumio City. So my mind was like, oh, if it goes to Lumio City, because at the time I don't think we knew if the game was going to be set in the present or past or future. Mm-hmm. So I thought, oh, if it's Lumio City and it was XYZ generation, it would make sense to bring back Mega Evolutions, right? They haven't brought it back since what was conceptualized? 13? 12?
13 with X and Y.
Yeah, so it's been a very long time. And also, I was looking up research of like, I thought they canceled Mega Evolutions, but it turns out they just never did because there was never really a good scenario to do it. The last time they did it was Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire with those other Mega Evolutions. Once reading that, I was like, oh, and if it's never canceled, then there should be doors to open up to more Megas, more things. I just think like they need a good setting, like Kalos, the place where it started it all, for it to come back.
I would agree with that, and I think what they should do going forward with Mega Evolutions is essentially giving Pokemon that just haven't had a chance to shine the ability to shine. The unfortunate thing about Mega Evolutions, the early ones, the ones we have, a lot of them are of popular Pokemon, which, to be fair, they're just simply capitalizing and making them cooler. But I think Mega Evolution also helps Pokemon that are underutilized have some kind of place in either competitive or just helping with people's taste. And with Legends Arceus being able to start in the past as opposed to ZA, we've already seen that concept with Paradox Pokemon from Scarlet Violet, right? With each game corresponding to the future or past, respectively. And so you made an interesting point of returning to the origin of Mega Evolution for the mainline series in the Kalos region. So I'm wondering if they're able to flesh out a little bit more of that storyline of like give more background of why Mega Evolution was possible. What about that meteor that came down and provided the gemstone to craft all the Mega bracelets and the Mega stones essentially for Mega Evolution? Why is it that it has to be only Pokemon that you've bonded well enough? At least that's the lore implications, but we know firsthand that all you gotta do is just give them an item. And then what about the Pokemon that can Mega Evolve without needing an item held? I'm looking at you, Mega Rayquaza, because Mega Rayquaza can Mega Evolve without holding, a Mega Stone. So there's just a lot of questions about Mega Evolution that I had since its conception back in 2013, and I'm glad they're bringing it back. I hope they actually give some good foundational lore and plot to why they even exist in the first place.
Yeah, and I also hope they show, like, obviously we know we won't have the same Pokemon as every single region as it was in Legends Arceus. We're gonna have random ones from Gen whatever coming in. So I do hope they're would be some test runs they had, like, oh, we tried to do with this, it failed, and this is how the product of the Mega Evolution actually came forth. I am also curious to know that if it's set in the future, from what we think it looks like based on the trailer, is the Mega Stone developed even better to where like we don't have this one Mega Evolution for a certain Pokemon? You know how Charizard had X and Y.
Correct. Mewtwo.
They have various forms. I wonder, since it is set in the future, I think, are there Mega Evolutions developed even further as to where they can take it further beyond to whatever they had before?
So you're saying like another stage beyond
Or another variation, yeah.
another variation?
Because I'm thinking, because it could make sense, because if we have Charizard becoming, you know, X and Y version, right? Same with Mewtwo. And if we're set in the future, I'm curious to know, like, did they find ways to have variation to other Pokemons to have Mega Evolutions, you know? Whether, let's say, you know, Blastoise was one, was, I think, just straight up water type. Let's see if they make him to water ghost type, water dark type, see if they develop to have variations into his abilities.
I'm thinking that with the introduction of new Mega variants, I think that would be very cool. And like you said, maybe they're able to artificially engineer Mega Evolutions or genetically manipulate and edit a Pokemon's genes, DNA research that they've done in the mainline stories, and just essentially push that factor even further than what we have now, like you said. And around that core concept, will the legendary Pokemon that play a major role in that too? I'm thinking that it is a Legends game, and if this is going to become a series as we're hoping or wondering about, PLA or Legends Arceus obviously focused on the creation trio and Arceus, so this one should be focused on the essential. I don't remember the canon name or the fanon name for the Kalos legendaries, but this is the long-awaited quote-unquote Pokemon Z that we never got, so we can focus more on Zygarde's background, because a lot of Zygarde's background was shoved into Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. But I'm hoping to see a little bit more of Zygarde's playing a role into this series for this game at the very least, because in X and Y, you know, Yveltal and Xerneas, they were, you know, the box legendaries that you catch to stop Lysander from committing mass genocide. And basically total eradication of everyone and everything on the planet. We would think that Zygarde would have like popped up and stopped that, but he just kind of like shoehorned in some random cave like in the post game. So I'm hoping here maybe another threat happens, or maybe they somehow utilize Zygarde's power themselves. I'm excited to see more cameos, more nods to the mainline series. Like maybe see there are more nods to maybe the protagonists themselves, because again, protagonists are self-inserts and they do have a role to play in the game, obviously. And I'm hoping like maybe if they give them descendants, then we can also determine who are the quote-unquote canon protagonists, whether it's the female or the male, for the versions of the games that only have one version of them at a time.
I'm always curious to know, like, where was the first Megastone found, and who was the first Megastone experimented on? When we played X and Y, we already had the Megastones ready for us, but I never knew who was actually the first test run of this Megastone, right? And how did multiple Megastones came to be? So I'm really curious to know, like, to know if they're gonna make a Pokemon and be like, oh, this Pokemon was the first, you know, test run, it failed, and then we had to develop the Megastone better, craft it into something that's more adaptable for Pokemons. So I'm really curious to know if they'll have a little storyline like that.
And that's what I'm saying, right? Like, I want a lore dump, essentially. I want a convincing story good enough that makes me go, okay, yeah, that's a cool backstory for why the Mega Evolution like came to be. Because I also wanted to have an expansion on the X and Y Kalos like lore in itself. I want to hear more about the war. I want to hear more about the after effects of that war. Apparently and canonically, highly suggested and or confirmed. It's been a while since I've looked into this, but that weapon that AZ used in that war 3,000 years ago apparently caused a split in the multiverse, right? And so now we have a timeline or a universe where Mega Stones and Mega Evolutions exist, and we have one where they don't, right? And we saw that with the Delta episode and Oras. I'm wondering to see if in the future we'll have something similar, or maybe there's a way for those timelines to reconvene. Uh, I don't know. Hard to say. As opposed to PLA that's set in the distant past, right, in ancient Sinnoh. But again, I don't know which Sinnoh that one was in. Is that in the, uh, Megastone evolution timeline, or was that in the non-Megastone evolution timeline? So things like that, and I've made my peace with multiverse stuff. It's just something that's gonna keep coming back thematically for a lot of games and game series, and can't really do much about it besides accept it. So I hope they could just take that concept and run well with it. That's my only concern.
And I also do think Pokemon Legends is here to stay, like the series wise. I think because it's based on having another sequel now. After this, it is successful, hopefully. We're gonna have more series like this where it just opens more doors, whether it be the past or the future, to expand on lores that we just never seen before. Do you think being set in just Lumio City is going to shorten the content or the enjoyment of it? X and Y, we had the whole game, but in this one, we just have Lumio City.
I really doubt it's only going to be Lumio City. I think that it just essentially just gave it like a little teaser to show where the game is going to take place. So I don't think it's just going to restrict to Lumio City itself, because in terms of the Kalos region, Lumio City is probably the most iconic spot in the entire region. And when I think of Kalos, I genuinely think of that.
I remember the first Legends Arceus game came out. There was a lot of backlash into it. How they said the game looks too much like
Breath of the Wild, yes.
And people were really hating on it. But I was really happy about it. It's a brand new concept that I thought Pokemon would really never bring out. So having this like 3D model of them coming out, actually having Pokemon attack you, pretty much get really injured from it. It's really nice to know that Pokemon is taking a step forward rather than playing it a little safe. But I think having Legends ZA and the Legends series come out, it brings a breath of fresh air and a breath of like more possibilities of what they can do with certain games. They can always jump to Legends and do something like there, rather than rushing like how they rushed Scarlet and Violet. I am glad that when they announced Pokemon Legends ZA, that the Switch 2, I don't know if they made this like this, Switch 2 was also announced. And my biggest quarrel about the Switch 1, if they were going to put it into ZA was going to go to Switch 1, I was having issues like, is the CPU in it strong enough? Because for me, when I play Scarlet and Violet, now I don't know, like really badly coded, but my Switch was like destroying itself when I was playing the game. It was like really hot. The graphics looks like I was like transparent and under the wall a lot of times. So I don't know if it's the game itself or my Switch that couldn't really handle it anymore.
I'm thinking that Pokemon Day would be the perfect time to showcase more information about ZA, especially since the last information we got about it was, I don't know, a year ago. So I want to know if what kind of game ZA is, more information, like who are the starters. I want to see if like potentially are we gonna have collision variants, assuming variants of the final forms, much like how we have the Hisuian variant.
It would be interesting to have that because they also bring out Megas as well. So it would be pretty interesting to have two variations of them.
Right. Who do you think the starters would be? It's all a little bit random in my opinion, but
I really want. So for me, I would want a Chimchar Mudkip.
Might have to be 3 generations 3, 4, and 6, like you said. If we're following the trend that they're not going to use the Kalos starters, which I think they will, because if this is actually set in the future, then I feel like there'd be no reason to change it. So I'm gonna say the Kalos starter they're gonna give is Fennekin. I'm feeling Fennekin. Mudkip, solid choice. Turtwig. That's my guess. That's my guess for who it is.
But that is all for what I have to say. Do you have anything to wrap it up before?
No, I think we're all holding our breath, having our fingers crossed, and we'll see what Pokemon Day brings for all of us Pokemon fans here.
Yeah. Hey guys, like this video? Please subscribe, like, comment, and all that. And we'll talk to you later.
Bye, everyone.